Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Breaking news from Ukraine this hour as the Russian invasion closes in on the capital of Kyiv and other strategic cities in the country. It's unclear exactly what the Russian strategy is, but Western intelligence says Russia wants to encircle the capital, secure control of the population, and overthrow the Ukrainian government. Standing in their way, Ukrainian forces fighting back against overwhelming odds. This is a full-scale invasion. Images of tanks, helicopters, buildings on fire. Hard to get an accurate assessment of casualties, but reports say it's now in the hundreds on both the Ukrainian and Russian sides. Families are cowering in shelters. The Ukrainian government says it has given out 18,000 machine guns to civilians. Authorities have told residents to prepare Molotov cocktails to throw at Russian troops. Kyiv's mayor says the city has now entered a defensive phase. The executive director of the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress is calling on Canada and other Western nations to do more to help Ukrainians defend themselves against Russia. Ihor Mikulishin says the Ukrainian community in Canada is anxious, but stepping up and showing support for family back home.
I wanted to thank all of the Ukrainian community leaders across Canada who are working tirelessly day and night to support our friends and family in Ukraine. And indeed, all Canadians are stepping up. The most important thing people can do now is to send financial support to humanitarian aid. The Canada-Ukraine Foundation, cufoundation.ca, is the main united community effort that our organization and the Canada-Ukraine Foundation are doing.
And hundreds of Indigenous people have gone to social media to show their support for the people of Ukraine with kookum scarves. The scarves, known in Ukraine as huska, have become iconic in many Indigenous nations across the prairies, and they were originally gifted from Ukrainian people who were some of the first settlers. Many on social media shared stories of the meaning behind kookum scarves. In a TikTok video, Jay Mikosis from Saddle Lake Cree Nation in Alberta says it represents the relationship with Indigenous and Ukrainian people.
There's still the Ukrainian people that come into our reserve and come and sell their goods and come and interact with our people. There's just a mutual respect, a historical respect for one another. One of the things that the Ukrainian people gave to our people, what you will still see to this day, is the kookum scarf. You'll still see to this day our old people, the old ladies, wearing them in ceremony like this, and you'll see the young warriors wearing their scarves on their head. You know, it gives us pride. We feel very powerful with our scarves on our head. If you have a kookum scarf, put it on, wear it. Pray for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine.
And we want to hear what you think about the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine. Here's how you can continue the conversation. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca or leave a comment on our website at aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Unconstitutional and self-serving. The two terms the Atikamekw Nation tossed around at a Thursday press conference to describe the clear-cutting and logging work underway on their ancestral territory in Quebec. Some communities are holding demonstrations and protest, but one community took an important legal step to force the delay. Lindsay Richardson explains.
A scene from Manawan First Nation, 250 kilometers north of Montreal, where logging projects are well underway on the Atikamekw ancestral territory. So this week, some Manawan members erected a blockade in protest. They say operations are disruptive to day-to-day life, but logging is proceeding despite objections from their community. Meanwhile, their sister community of Wimotashi, 130 kilometers to the north, is using different means to apply pressure on government.
Non seulement les consultations sont non constitutionnelles, elles sont en manque de respect envers tous nos membres.
Not only are consultations not constitutional, they're not respectful of our members, says François Néachit, chief of Wimotashi. On Thursday, Néachit and Atikamekw chiefs served Quebec with a formal notice to suspend all work on their lands until terms are renegotiated. Not only are there on the land customs at stake.
C'est l'habitat faunique qui est brisé, les animaux déménagent, puis le gibier déménage, puis on entend presque plus d'oiseaux non plus, les oiseaux qu'on entendait il y a quelques années.
They say Quebec's idea of consultation means showing the community their logging plans after they've been decided upon.
For example, if a chief of territory asks for a particular part of their land to be protected, they can't, because if the usage of this portion of land has already been decided to be for forestry, then this can't be changed when they are consulted, so it's already too late to change that.
Leaders say this follows a pattern for Quebec. The Legault government refused to adopt the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples over the duty to consult on the economy. In 2020, Quebec tabled an economy-stimulating bill also waiving the duty to consult, while that bill was repealed.
We have a government that says to us, you don't have that right to be self-governing nations. You don't have that right. We don't recognize that right. We have a government that doesn't recognize the fact that Aboriginal title is a reality. They won't go there. And the fact is, they will agree to a process, a political one at that, but only strictly based on their conditions. It's not fair.
If the three ministries named in the legal notice refuse to come back and bargain, Wimotashi's legal rep says escalation is possible.
If the government of Quebec does not sit at the table, or if their negotiation stance is unreasonable, then the Atikamekw of Wimotashi are prepared to go through the courts.
Wimotashi says they're not against industry, and that's why they're not naming the logging companies in the formal notice, but that in the event of future partnerships, they want an equal consultation process, and they want all operations to be conducted with proper respect for their traditions and for their lands. Now, as for the three government ministries named in the formal notice, we reached out to them for comment, but did not hear back before deadline. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Trois-Rivières, Quebec.
Thanks, Lindsay. A large part of Labrador's north coast could become an Indigenous protected area. The Nunatsiavut government represents Inuit in Newfoundland and Labrador, and it recently signed a memorandum of understanding with Canada regarding this region. Angel Moore explains.
The MOU is for a feasibility study of the coastal waters adjacent to Torngant Mountains National Park. If all goes well, it will establish an Indigenous protected area where Inuit knowledge and traditions will be protected. Nunatsiavut President Johannes Lamp calls it a move towards reconciliation.
While maintaining our traditional practices and our way of life. For it is the water and ice that have sustained Inuit for years, and we hope that it can do so for generations to come.
The marine area to be studied, almost 15,000 kilometers, is 3 times larger than Prince Edward Island and includes Arctic and Atlantic habitats containing beluga whales, fish and birds. Canada's Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Stephen Guilbeault, signed the MOU virtually with President Lamp. He calls it a step to combat climate change.
Urgent action from governments is needed to ensure that these beautiful yet fragile ocean ecosystems and the Inuit culture and communities they sustain in northern Labrador are to persist.
The study is expected to take about 2 to 3 years, when the Nunatsiavut and Canada will determine if the area will be an Indigenous protected area. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabuktuk, also known as Halifax.
Stunning. Well, a Mi'kmaq chief calls restorative justice a double standard. This after Nova Scotia prosecutors announced the 25 people charged for ransacking a lobster pound and destroying a Mi'kmaq lobster catch while a Mi'kmaq fisher was stuck inside. They'll avoid criminal charges. Once again, here's Angel Moore.
This was the launch of the Sipekne'katik Treaty Fishery almost 2 years ago, a celebration that quickly ended because non-Indigenous fishermen reacted with violence. About 200 people surrounded a building that stored the Mi'kmaq lobster catch. They threatened to burn the building down while a Mi'kmaq harvester was inside. Crates of lobster were dumped on the ground. Earlier this month, 25 people faced charges of break and enter, unlawful assembly, and forcible entry. They will avoid court if they participate in a restorative justice.
The double standards are unreal. It's I don't even like using the word Canadian anymore. It's just.
Sipekne'katik Chief Mike Sack believes justice will not be served by going this route.
And then I just learned today that restorative justice is something that people are pushing for, because they were trying to take another route with them and they were going to get off scot-free.
Not so, says senior Crown Attorney Brian Cox.
We retain the option to continue with the prosecution at a later date if the individuals who have been referred are unsuccessful with restorative justice.
Restorative justice is the best option, senior Crown Attorney Rob Kennedy says.
It invokes traditional restorative approaches and education, understanding, community building, and we felt that was the most important aspect of this case.
The Mi'kmaq fisherman who was surrounded inside the pound does not want to meet with the accused, but Kennedy says the process will continue.
It will involve members of the Indigenous community participating, particularly individuals that are involved in the fishery, elders from the community, as well as the Mi'kmaq Legal Support Network itself.
The executive director of the Mi'kmaq Legal Support Network, Paula Marshall, supports restorative justice for the 25 men.
This is a really serious event that happened, and though it may not be reflected necessarily in the charges that were laid, we want to make sure that there is proper education, that there is accountability, and that Mi'kmaq needs will be heard and met.
A hearing is scheduled for next September for an update of the restorative justice process. However, the Crown expects more time will be needed. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Kyiv, also known as Halifax.
Thanks, Angel. It was not the parole board decision longtime inmate Odelia Cusance was looking for this week. Soto woman says she and her sister were wrongfully convicted in the murder of Joe Dolph in 1993. APTN Investigates profiled her story in a life sentence. The Parole Board of Canada adjourned her hearing to reconvene it in up to 2 months. She had been seeking full parole after almost 30 years behind bars. And you can catch up on our coverage of this case by heading over to our website at aptnnews.ca/ourstories. After this first break, a Calaweets water crisis grabbed headlines last year when residents couldn't drink their contaminated water for weeks. Our Calaweet Bureau went looking for some information about the capital city's water plant. Here's a preview of what they came up with.
I'm Ken Driscoll in Calaweet. Late last year, fuel was discovered in Calaweet's water supply, leading to more than a month where residents couldn't drink their tap water. So we did what journalists do. We did an access to information request with the territory for inspection reports about the water plant. Here's what we got back. 120 pages, each one like this, 100% redacted. No access to information in this access to information request. We'll sit down with Nunavut's Information and Privacy Commissioner and ask him about the giant crack the city of Calaweet's information fell into. That's coming soon on APTN National News.
Welcome back. Betty Nippy Albright is a well-known voice for Indigenous peoples in Saskatchewan. But despite strong support, the MLA for Saskatoon Centre will not run for the provincial NDP leadership. Leanne Sanders has more.
Betty Nippy Albright announced via Twitter this week that she will not seek leadership of the Saskatchewan NDP, ending rampant speculation about her intentions since Ryan Miley stepped down last Friday. She says she was deeply humbled by the support in the last several days, but her home province isn't ready for a leader like her.
This society's not ready, and Saskatchewan's not ready for that. They're not ready for a bold, outspoken, educated First Nation woman.
So far, no one has declared their intention to run for the NDP leadership. Nippy Albright says in the 2 years she's been in the legislature, she's gotten significant pushback, and that's played into her decision.
In calling out racism, in being vocal and blunt, I have been vilified by many people that I'm too vocal, and I don't couch my what I say in palatable terms.
Nippy Albright is the opposition critic for First Nations and Métis relations and Truth and Reconciliation, and will continue her work in those areas.
Thanks for that, Leanne. Joining us now to talk about her decision not to run is Betty Nippy Albright. Betty, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me to join you.
Well, why did you feel it was important to make your reasons public?
Well, I've had many calls and text messages and many reporters calling me, and I thought, okay, I better tell people that I'm not running. I've been inundated with many calls for support within the province and also across the country. And my phone, my email, my social media was quite active, and I felt that I needed to just let people know that I won't be running.
What's the response been like after people found out the reasons why you wouldn't be running?
Well, there's many people that understand that in Saskatchewan, we're still very much a racist province. And when I say that, there has been resistance to change within this province. And this province is not ready for a vocal, educated Indian woman to become leader or to be the premier of this province.
Which is an unfortunate statement. I guess, Betty, what would you say to any Indigenous women who want to take part in politics?
What I say to them is it's not an easy road for women, in particular Indigenous women. We have to work 3 times harder just to start at the same playing field. I didn't join politics. I wouldn't have joined politics if I didn't have a minimum of a master's degree and if I didn't have 20 years of experience working in the health sector, just to start. So for those that are thinking of running, know that it's a hard journey. Often you're going to stand alone. And especially if you are vocal and you're speaking truth to power, you are going to be villainized. But you have to stand within your truth, know what you are doing, why you are doing. I stepped up because I want a better place for my grandchildren. I want a future for my grandchildren that will be welcoming, so they have an opportunity to participate in society and have that opportunity. That's why I decided to run for provincial politics, that it's important to have vocal Indigenous women that are visible, speaking truth to power, pushing the status quo, and talking about our treaties, because that's all we have. We need to exercise. I want my grandchildren to exercise their treaty rights to hunt, fish, or gather.
Betty, we'll have to leave it there, but thanks for speaking up and for speaking with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day.
Still to come, a hockey player in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League learns his punishment after a racist gesture. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Here's another great photo from Jennifer Hunter, who had a great eye for this moment she captured in Kujarapik, Nunavik. Well, beautiful, it sure looks chilly. Stay warm, Jennifer, and thanks for sharing this with us. Anybody else can send their photos to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, -4 in Halifax, 2 below with snow in St. John's. 20 below in Nain, -18 for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. -5 in Montreal, snow and 9 below in Chibougamau. Sunny and -5 in Sault Ste. Marie, snow and -5 in North Bay. -5 in Thunder Bay with snow, flurries and 8 below in Sioux Lookout. -14 in God's Lake and Norway House. -5 in Winnipeg with snow, -6 in Dauphin. -5 in Regina with snow, flurries and 7 below in Saskatoon. -8 with snow in Meadow Lake, 14 below in Buffalo Narrows. In northern Alberta, -5 in Grand Prairie, snow and 12 below in Fort McMurray. -3 in Edmonton, +7 in Lethbridge. 6 above with showers in Vancouver and Victoria. -3 with snow in Prince George, 0 in Smithers. -21 in Old Crow, 0 in Whitehorse. -25 in sunny in Yellowknife, 23 below in Norman Wells. -28 in Sax Harbor, 24 below in Pawtucket. -26 in Chesterfield, 27 below in Cambridge Bay. 26 below in Resolute, -27 in Arctic Bay. An update now to the story of a Manitoba junior hockey player who came under fire for a racist gesture towards a First Nations player. The Manitoba Junior Hockey League found Dauphin Kings player Clem Georgiev committed discriminatory taunting for gestures during a recent game with the Wawasee-Kappa Wolverines. That comes with an 18-game suspension, broken down into 11 regular games and 7 playoff games. It's roughly a third of the entire season. Georgiev has also been ordered to take anti-racism training. The MJHL says the Wolverines have accepted his apology. Well, that's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Friday. For news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. You can also catch up on the news of the week tomorrow on APTN National News Weekend. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.